Asher has been kind enough to record this because I am tech illiterate and have not figured out how best to do that. But we're sitting here and we're discussing off the start our safety tools. We've already gone over the Gauntlet inclusivity policy, and we're discussing the X card. Again, make some motion. Feel free to use it because this mystery does have to do with religion, in particular religion, kind of a hell and brimstone. We have a preacher who is preaching hate and intolerance. So if something gets to where it's being personal, if something's getting uncomfortable, feel free to exit. What we'll do then, I'll pull back, reframe, and we'll move forward. There's no questions asked, and it is here to make sure we all have the best time. So everyone should feel free to use it. I use it in other games. It is a good tool to make sure we're all having the best fun. Now, I had kind of gone over some things with Sarah and Chris before you got here, Asher, but what I'm thinking is we have some sort of reason that we're all together to start off with. As in, like, we're an organization or a family or a government thing or something has brought us together, and you've been kind of together for a little bit of a while. So a few months, you've done things before, so you know each other. Sarah had suggested, since she's playing a divine angelic character, maybe it has something to do with it. The call from on high sort of thing has brought you together. Asher, I know you're still kind of putting together the character. Is that right? Excellent. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Sarah and Chris, if you would, tell us what your character's like, and that'll give you a few moments, Asher. We'll see where you are when they get done. And once we've introduced everyone, sounds like that we've had a calling that has brought us together. So we'll do our bonds. We'll do one each for characters. Since we only have three, but I'll do two. And once we have that bond established, I think we'll have a pretty good idea of what's brought us together, how we interact, and then I'll go into the mystery. We'll hop right into it. So, I'm going to go from how my camera is showing things. So, Sarah, would you mind terribly introducing your character?
Yes, just changed my name. Anil, and they are, I think we go like an actual angel. Androgynous, intense, and difficult to read. I have been sent by God. I cast out evil, lay on hands, and boss from beyond. I am here to ensure that the apocalypse happens as scheduled.
Awesome. Very, very neat. Do you always appear as an angel, or is there do you go into a normal guise when interacting with mortals?
Oh, that's interesting. Because, it's generally this very frightening thing when they appear. I think, in order to do this work in a way that won't send everyone running, so that I actually can do this work, I think I've taken on a more human form, less 100 eyes, 7 wings sort of deal.
Okay, that's awesome. So, probably still unusual looking. Certainly goes along with your look. Is that make sense?
Mm.
But completely, possibly, when needed, can pop out into the full divine aspect. Love it. Excellent. Chris, would you mind introducing your character?
Sorry, I had to remember to unmute myself. I'm Chris. I'll be playing Salim Awad. He is the expert. He is a man in his later middle age. He's got an avuncular sort of face, a sort of a medium beard with dark with a little bit of silver sort of peppered through it. And he generally wears casual clothes, but not too casual. I'm thinking like the kind of person you might think of as like one of the easygoing college professors. Like he's wearing khakis and he's got a jacket on, but underneath he's got like maybe some sort of like just very very casual shirt. Never wears a tie, kind of situation. As the expert, he has a lot of pre-existing knowledge and access to more knowledge about various supernatural and mystical phenomenon and entities. He is the kind of person that I think gives off the vibe that, hey, I have a question and he's there. Maybe I should ask him. He gives off that sort of vibe, like he knows the answer to probably just about anything you might be able to ask him. He's a person who has some sort of psychic connection, which he doesn't wholly and completely understand, with a secretive group of ascetics who occasionally provide him with some form of enlightenment or information beyond what he could normally find himself. And that has been more helpful than hurtful in the past, and so he has come to trust it. And so he is willing to call upon that sort of knowledge. He is not necessarily particularly religious as far as his observances go, but he's seen enough and heard enough to where he's not like a knee-jerk skeptic about it either. But he is just not particularly observant about his position with or near the divine. He just is there to learn, is there to put a stop to things when they go too far, and is there to provide assistance to people he thinks are more capable of doing sort of the heavy lifting sometimes if he doesn't think he's up to it anymore.
Neat. You have a haven, I believe it's called.
Yes, and his haven is a stash of a lot of old lore books, not necessarily magic spell type stuff, but information, lots of information, like historical documents that where he is found in palimpsests throughout various old libraries and various other books and places. His haven is protected by long form protection spells and wards to keep monsters out. And he has access to a armory, a stockpile of mystical and rare monster killing weapons and items.
Okay.
Access. And he's read about that sort of thing. So he gets a bonus to use his sharp whenever he is trying to act under pressure.
Ooh, nice.
He always has a plan.
Can I ask, since with the haven, do you think that you're from this area so you can get back to it? Do you travel in an RV that packs a whole bunch of this stuff in there? Or how are you thinking? Because I'm very flexible, so you can access your move. I want you to be able to look at a way to do it.
I think he has for the purposes of where we are now, I think he's probably traveling with this stuff. So he has got I'll say he's got like a surprisingly nice Airstream trailer that he has placed in a local camping area.
Excellent.
And it's got all sorts of crazy wards and stuff on it, and a lot of his lore library in there. Like he has a few originals, but a lot of it is scans of his various documents that he's managed to bring with him from his main stockpile.
Nice database in your computer sort of thing. I got you. Cool. Very, very nice. You went with an alt magic move, and I'll come back to you, Sarah, because you did as well. What did you choose, Chris?
I chose Illuminated. That gives him that sort of access to that group of ascetics. The text of it is that you have become enlightened and sometimes receive information telepathically from the secret masters, whoever they may be. The default presumption is they're a benevolent conspiracy fighting to make society or the universe perfect, or at least that's what they've told you.
Excellent. And Sarah, your character has an alt magic move. What did you choose?
Yes. No limits. So when you push your body past its physical limits, roll plus weird, and I can do things like lift cars if I would like, potentially.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. All right, then. Asher, do you feel like you can give us a description of your character, or do you need a moment or two? You could choose. What it is there's the normal magic move in Monster of the Week, which lets you do a lot of little effects, usually with some sort of catch that you have to do them. It's the normal one in the play sheet. Then there are these alternate ones that replace that magic move. Now, if you choose one, you still can do big magics. Everyone can do big magic still, the ritual stuff. The alternate magics are in the Tome of Mysteries, and they start on page 18. And they have some interesting ones. They have an empath that's able to kind of pull surface thoughts and emotions from folks. They have an illuminated, as Chris is playing, who has secret masters speaking to them. No limits, as Sarah's doing, which is kind of a physical abilities beyond the normal physical. Past lives, where your past lives will speak to you, and they may know something about a situation. There is the sensitive, which is able to kind of read psychic environments, feel things off of the environment. There's trust your gut, which kind of is you're just intuitive, and you can basically make a roll to see if the GM will give you a kind of help you along the path. Your intuition will lead you forward. There's telekinesis, which allows you to pick up and throw stuff. There's weird science, and that's doing all sorts of strange gizmos and things beyond normal science, but they still work for you. But again, you could choose the normal magic one as well if you'd like. Ooh. Nice. That's cool. So you're thinking your first encounter was... Ooh. That's nice. Never need to act under pressure due to feelings of fear, despair, or isolation. Oh, that's cool. Absolutely. Nice. Excellent. Can I ask what Maor's pronouns are? She, her. Okay. And I think, Chris, you've intimated that Salim is he, him. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was looking at Character Keeper. I popped back over and said, oh, he's thumbs upping me. Okay. Excellent. Asher, anything else about Mawar that we know about her thus far? You've said that was looking into cryptids. What sort of interest does she have in them? Is it always something that she was out looking for? Was there something that happened? Cool. And has been doing that for a long time? So several years. Excellent. Cool, cool, cool. And you're still looking over your other moves, is that right? Okay, that's fine. Give a look see over them. If you need to, feel free to pull them up during play. Um, that's fine as well. If one of them goes, this is something I would have, pick it right up. So sounds like we had this sort of coming together, calling together from on high. But I think our bonds might help us to find out a little bit better what's going on. So I'm going to start back over and pick on you again, Sarah. Why don't you throw out your 2 bonds for your character? History, yeah. Sarah?
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at them. There are a few options. I'll just read out all the ones that look good. They are at heart a good and righteous person, and you must help them stay that way. Their prayer, perhaps an informal or even unconscious prayer, summoned you. I think those are the 2 I got fast, actually.
Ooh, all right. Reread the first one if you would, and we'll see if anybody grabs hold.
They are at heart a good and righteous person. You must help them stay that way.
Nice. Anybody interested in that, or Sarah? Anybody you thinking of for that?
I could see that being Salim.
Is your organization, what sort of organization is it?
It's
Besides secret?
it's some sort of it. Well, the organization he's in contact with is secret. Like he doesn't know exactly who they are. They're just he's of the opinion and belief that there's some sort of group of ascetics that are based somewhere in the Middle East that occasionally make psychic contact with him and provide him with information that has been helpful in the past. He believes their goals are altruistic and generally to make the world a better place, but that's simply based on what he's seen so far. So he can't be sure because he's never met or had any sort of in-depth conversations with them. Like everything's like some sort of vision or revelation or just sort of direct sort of psychic communication.
What do you think, Sarah?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And remind me what happens with bonds. Do they have a mechanical effect?
Not a ton. It's really just establishing what our history is. Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, there's nothing that they end up working in on your moves. And your other one?
Oh, this is the one I didn't see. Either their prayer, perhaps an informal or even unconscious prayer, summoned you, or they should not be involved in this situation. The prophecies didn't mention them at all.
Ooh,
This gets your attention, but you don't know what it means yet.
Sure. Which
you feeling either of those?
Yeah.
Their prayer summoned you, informal or even unconscious prayer, or they should not be involved in this situation. The prophecies didn't mention them at all. Especially because you were going after like cryptids and things, you said, and instead stumbled upon something else, not divine or infernal.
Ooh, I like that. Then, Sarah, Anil, what does their view of this person who's not in the prophecies, what do they think of it?
Well, not only is she not in the prophecies, she's talking about things that are beyond the scope of God, which is distressing.
Mm. Is it distressing in that it kind of sows doubt even in the heart of an angel, or is it disturbing in the, oh, how's this person gotten so totally deceived?
I think more like I know in my heart of hearts that God must also have a plan for this thing that you've discovered, and that too must be like under his purview. But I didn't know about it.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. That's a nice complex history. Love it. All right, Chris, let's get your two across.
Okay. Let's see. I've got. Hold on. Let me get back to my playbook list here. See, I think they once helped you get a singular item that is now part of your haven.
Ooh, I like that one. Anybody want to grab it, or anybody you thinking of?
I think that could work for Sarah's character, because one of the items I chose is a blessed knife.
Ooh, sound good, Sarah?
Yeah.
And that goes along with you believing that this is a righteous person, so is perhaps worthy of this thing?
Yeah, I think the organization that he gets information from is either holy or in the service of God in some way, not necessarily directly or knowingly, but yeah, and I think I'm kind of hoping that giving you this as like a token of my faith in you will help keep you on the path of righteousness.
Ooh,
I can see that.
that sounds lovely. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Chris, you're second.
Okay. My
So,
second,
Asher, this one will be for you.
and I've got a couple of them that I think might work for Asher's character here, and I'll sort of throw these out there. Number one, you happen to be a distant relation of mine. And my character's like an older middle-aged fellow, so like it could be any sort of like extended family sort of a situation. I once saved your life in a tight spot, or you have been my student or apprentice or something in the past. There you go. Let's see. How far out do you want it to be? Like I don't see Salim having any children of his own, but you could definitely be like a niece or something like that.
Excellent. Cool. Okay. So this is a fairly close relative there. I'm going to ask then for Celine, have you always had a fairly close relationship with your niece, or did you reconnect here fairly recently?
I think, and Ashley, you let me know if this goes along with what you might have had in mind. I was thinking that maybe when she was a child, I think Salim was like the really cool uncle because he was younger at that point, a little bit younger than maybe her mother or father, whichever side of the family Salim ends up on. And he had that sort of like that sort of like cool college professor look at that point. Now he has the older college professor look. So he was like the cool uncle then. They've been out of touch for a while because Salim's been out doing this sort of stuff for a long time, and they've recently, say in the last year or so, reconnected and have been because of her or because of their sort of mutual interest in weird things. Salim has been like worried that maybe Moar is getting kind of into something maybe that might be too dangerous, but he also recognizes that they're an adult and he can't really stop them. So he's preferred to move into a more of a sort of a mentoring role. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to do this, you need to be careful, and here's some ways to be careful kind of situation.
So, Asher, what do you think of that? And if this sounds okay, how do you see the relationship? Do you see it as, uncle and niece with him as sort of a, patriarchal figure, or is it more as equals? What are you thinking? I like that. So it was, realizing that the two of you had such a shared interest in things beyond the norm has brought y'all back together. And I like too that you're saying, kind of viewed him as being a professor, a person of knowledge when you were young. So do you think of him as more of a colleague than as some older person in your family? Mm-hmm. Excellent. See, that sounds good. Everybody, both of y'all happy with how that played out? Wonderful. I think that's very cool. Okay. Asher, think you got history questions for Mara? That's a cool one. Anybody want to grab that one? Chris, you're muted. I'm sorry.
I think, judging, it would be odd if the angel had a pet. Like, I don't know if that would really work. So it sounds like that would be par for the course for Salim. And I think since he's traveling a lot, it's going to be a pet that could travel with him relatively easily. So I'm thinking maybe either a small dog or a cat.
Ooh.
And I think Salim probably, given his lifestyle, probably leans toward the cat because the cat can be very self-sufficient and doesn't need quite as much attention on average as the dog might. So I'm thinking he probably has a cat that stays in the Airstream a lot of the time and just sort of travels around with him wherever he's going.
That's cool.
And I'll have to think of a name for the cat. So give me a minute on that one. Oh, I'm thinking that maybe you happen to go on a field trip with Salim, and the cat was supposed to be there to keep you distracted while Salim was doing something he didn't want you to see or know about. And I think the cat basically took off, and you ended up finding the cat. And at that point, that's maybe when you saw what Salim's field trips were really about. Maybe you saw him have to like strike down some sort of supernatural creature with that silver sword he has or something like that.
How's that sound, Asher? You like that idea? Maybe it was the pet was the reason that you made this connection and saw y'all have this shared interest? Right. Cool. All right. And a second history question. Oh, oh, I like that. So, Sarah, how does that sound to you that we've discovered, well, that there is something that is stalking you both? And part of that question, Asher, is have you told them? Is that right? So, I'm going to come to you, Sarah, and ask you what it is. But I want to find out first, Asher, have you told, or has Mauer told Anil that the things out there coming after y'all? So
I haven't gotten around to it yet.
that's cool.
Well, it's got to be either a demon or a weird. You've already messed it up just by being here when you shouldn't be. Doesn't make any sense anymore. It's got to be either like a demon or a weird cryptid thing that I don't really believe exists.
Ooh, both those could be interesting. Which one do you think has the better appeal?
I think if we were playing in any other setting, I'd go for the cryptid, but here, demon.
Demon. All right. So there is some demon that is stalking you. Thus far, Mawar has not let Anil know. And for whatever reason, Anil is thus far unaware, which could say something about the type of demon, something about what's going on, and maybe reflect that not being part of the prophecy thing. So I think that's some cool history questions. We all feel good about them. Kind of got a good dynamic. Yeah. Oh, that be the Jersey Devil sort of thing. Well, then you think a bit on what you might be looking at as, the stalking, because it's going to be up to you when you kind of let it be known it's stalking. Let Emil know. And I will try and make sure there's at least some influence that comes from this thing. I mean, you've given me something to work with. So, let's hop into what's going on here. So, we have a start of session move that our angel has, and I think this will probably inform a little bit of what we know. So, Sarah, why don't you go ahead? Oh, we should get a roll for our party. I'm sorry. Set that up. I should have done that beforehand, but I am foolish sometimes. So, here we go. It is privately alive beetle. Not letting folks know about it, apparently. So here it is in the chat. And Sarah, go ahead and roll up.
The video chat?
Yes. Do you see it? It's got a click on the bottom left, and it'll pop up.
I'm actually not seeing it, but
Are you on a tablet or a computer?
A computer. But what's the room name? I can just type it in.
Okay, it is privately alive beetle. I have seen that with just Hangouts, the little chat bar thing, it won't show up for certain. Like some people have it on tablet, it won't show up. It just
yeah. Well, I can see everybody else's. I can see like the stuff Chris and Asher have said.
Really, but you don't.
I don't know. But I'm here now.
Cool.
So, rolling 2d6.
Is everybody else seeing mine? chats? Trish, you are? Okay, cool. All right.
Weird. All right, so that's plus weird, and that is a 8.
An 8. All right. Oh, real quick, just I'm going to start everybody with 3 luck. So keep in mind with luck, you can spend it, automatically get a 12, or you can eliminate any damage coming from one source. We also have luck moves. They are on the new character sheets, and I also have a list for them in the play aids for ones that don't have them automatically. So keep those in mind. They're pretty cool. It's worth using up here on a short one. So with an 8, they ask you to do something complicated or difficult. In either case, you get to ask them one of the questions from the investigative mystery move right now. So let's go ahead and have you ask your question, and I will then give you your difficult sort of assignment.
Okay.
Well, maybe that's not very fair because you don't know anything yet about what you're doing. So,
That's true.
So, coming to you from above, and how do you think these messages come to you? I mean, is it the booming voice and light? Is it more like click, you suddenly know it as you are, the hand of God, what the mind knows, the hand knows?
I think it's almost like being hypnotized.
Oh,
There's a few moments where it's just like a blank stare, and then I like snap back and know.
excellent. Then you see this church, the picture I have in the folder there, and you immediately know where it is, St. George, Utah. You can see it on a map. You know how far it is from you now. You know how to get there. It just comes to you immediately. You sense an evil there in that church, and you could hear like this cacophony of yells of hatred. Those that sin shall feel the wrath of the Lord, for the Lord is not forgiving. And just this congregation yelling out their feelings of hate. It is anthema to the forgiveness that He on high is capable of. But you can also sense that there is something around this church, that's around this message, as though it's trying to get in, as though this sound of hate is calling to it. And you know that the dead are rising, as is foretold in the prophecy. But these are not the dead that are supposed to rise. This is an aberration of the prophecy. And should this come to pass, the apocalypse it brings will be outside of the plan. That this is a false Armageddon. Any question you'd like to ask? Oh, you're muted, dear.
What sort of creature is it that is causing this?
It is a powerful spirit of the dead, but it is not the dead of this world.
That makes me think of Moir's interests. Okay.
Excellent. Do you think that you're the one who goes and tells your companions this is where we should go? Or
I think so, yeah. So I just, you guys are in like the airstream. Just this, probably get like the rush of like wings in your ears. And then Anil is standing like right next to the table. We must leave. We must leave and go to Utah.
Salim, what do you say?
I think Salim will have like a cup of tea, and you see him like he's gripping the tea really hard and like putting it down and says, I'm in my late 50s. Could you please not appear quite like that in the middle of my small Airstream trailer? Maybe you could knock.
And I lay like a hand on your shoulder. It is not yet your time.
Oh, what a comfort.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay, well, the Airstream has been packed for a while because I had anticipated needing to travel at some point soon, so at least we're ready for that. Mawar, is this something you were going to follow along with, or do you have other interests that beckon you?
Excellent.
And
Well, then yeah.
Tyler, I also have a beginning of the mystery move. It's called
Okay.
the Woman or Man with the Plan.
All righty.
So it just gives me a couple of hold depending on how well I roll to use later in the mystery.
Cool. Why don't we go ahead and get that roll on the table?
Okay, and let me jump in and see. I think I'm rolling with weird there, but it could be something different. It might be sharp. Yeah, it is sharp. Okay, so I roll with sharp, and let's see how that goes.
How'd you do?
It's a 7 on the dice plus 2 from sharp, so that gives me a 9.
Okay. So you're going to get to hold one.
And I can spend that hold at any point to be where I need to be, prepared and ready.
Mm-hmm. Or you could spend a luck and get the 10. That's up to you.
Ooh, I'll stick with the 1 right now. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that that's going to be okay, because I think I might need the luck later.
All righty. Well then, sounds like we get the Airstream going, and I'm going to say we're not terribly far away. That we're, not probably in Utah, but that we're not coming all the way from Maine. So getting going, and after 5 or 6 hours of drive, you'll be pulling into St. George. Chris, I'll leave up to you if you ever wish to try to contact the masters. I don't know if that's something you'd want to do going into this, but whenever you feel a need, feel free to bring it up. You're muted, dear.
There we go. I think probably at some point during the drive, because I'm going to presume it's at least several hours.
Yeah.
Minimum from where we were. That maybe not Anil, but maybe Mawar.
Yeah, I don't think Anil's.
Yeah, maybe Mawar drove for a little while, just so Salim could get a rest. And during that time, like he sort of meditated a while, and maybe he tried to see if his illumination might offer any insight.
Neat.
Okay, so let's reroll my silver set of dice here. I'll move them out of the way. Okay, that's a 7 on the dice, and the eliminated move has me roll with weird. My weird is currently a 0, so that's a 7. On a 7 to 9, the secret masters need me to complete a task for them. Once it is done, they will reveal a key fact, clue, or technique that will help you.
All right. You kind of, how does it look when you open up to the masters?
Well, I think from the outside, it looks like maybe he's sort of fallen asleep in his chair, because he just gets himself comfortable and just sort of leans back and sort of lets his mind sort of flow out into the ether. And I think from his mental perspective, it looks like he sort of fades into a sort of a dream state, and then fades in to this sort of circle of light, where like there's light shining in, and he can tell there are people sitting around him, but they look like the light's behind them, so they look like shadows. They're seated around him. It looks like they're seated in a kind of a lotus position around him, and he is seated that way as well. And their light is shining in from behind them, from like a either a dawn or a sunset. He's not sure.
All right. And you hear kind of that sombrous voice, and it almost sounds like all of them are speaking at once and in low tones, but because they're all speaking at once, it has this sort of boom and resonance to it. And Salim, you travel to dark places. We would have you visit with one who is there. They must be watched for. They must be protected. They have works to do in the future. You must find Clark Molina. He is an insurance adjuster.
I think Salim just sort of is a little taken aback by that, because they're rarely that specific about the employment, like the modern employment position of anyone. So he's like, very well. I will. What sort of threat is confronting Clark Molina that I need to be on the lookout for? Is it a worldly threat or an otherworldly threat?
He is curious. He will seek, and trouble finds him. He shall stumble. His death will tangle the skein.
Then I shall seek and find him and protect him as best I can.
He is in St. George, Utah, in a strip mall called the Cherry Point.
Thank you.
All right. Mawar. Yeah, go ahead.
I think he sort of blinks and he mumbles, Cherry Point insurance adjuster? Just like almost he's like mumbling in his sleep in disbelief.
Excellent. Mawar, you've kind of heard, all of this going, driving along. Is there anything you do? Are you curious? Do you ask, say, Anil, why you're going there? Or is there anything else you'd be interested in doing?
Yeah, I think actually I would have like disappeared with the intention of reappearing in that parking lot when you guys get there. But if you need me, you can always call for me.
You see him sort of groggily, like maybe he had gone into deep sleep, like right after he mumbled that. And so he's like really slowly sort of getting his bearings again. And he blinks a couple of times and he says, what was I saying? Yes. And he clicks the little microphone symbol on his smartphone that's pegged to the dashboard. He says, St. George, Utah, Cherry Point Shopping Center.
And it pops up.
And he clicks on the little map, the little navigation tab or button, and the as the annoying voice like starts to tell us what we have to do and where we have to go. Just follow that. We're looking for an insurance adjuster's office in that little strip mall. Look, sometimes in this line of work, and I've told you this before, you find out things that you need to know in ways that are not particularly conventional.
I'm sorry, you hiccuped there a moment, Asher. Could you repeat that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he can try and take a look. And he says, I'm not sure exactly what we need to do when we get there, but I have a name that we need to try and make contact with.
Okay. Want to use that maybe to do an investigative mystery?
I think so.
Okay.
And
you've got your stuff. We've got the map. So there's a lot of resources you have to look up some of the stuff about St. George and what's going on.
Okay. And I've got the lore library there. So basically, I'm hitting the books to investigate the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I can take my +1 forward for my lore library on that one.
Okay.
And I think, if memory serves, I'm rolling plus sharp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that gives me a total of +3 right now with just my end of things.
Okay. We'll see. Maybe have Mawar help you.
Okay. Well, I rolled a 7 on the dice. +3 makes it a 10. So.
All right. Well, I think Mawar is definitely helping you with the map anyway and can give insight here, but it looks like you've got 2 holes there. Do you see the questions?
So let me see which of these might like. Okay, this might be something good for us. What is being concealed with regards to? And I'll focus it here. Just regards to this person or thing we're going to investigate. Like what's being concealed? Like what is the thing that he's after?
You are able to pull up fairly quickly some recent newspaper articles saying, first off, that talking about this St. George Cathedral and the preacher there who is Father... I got him. There he is. Father Amhurst. And you see an article about Father Amhurst, who has been heading this church for decades. I mean, he's been here a very long time. But there's an article in the St. George Gazette talking about the mission statement that he has come out with of the end time is near, and that the sinners of the earth are their wickedness is to be punished. And there's a whole article about how members of the church have left because of how his message has become more incendiary and much more kind of full of the wrath and the us and them. There's a lot of the us and them that he seems to be preaching now. But that it has also attracted new congregants, and that there have been some people who have moved because his message spreading out on the internet. And he is a the Lord is bringing punishments because we're allowing homosexuals to marry. He has a mixing of the races against the Lord's works. He is that all the other religions are being allowed to dilute our Christian nation. We should be instituting the Lord's law. There are even people who say that the 10 Commandments shouldn't be in the courtroom. How can you have that in a Christian society? We are seeing the new dawn of the Lord's punishments. Once it was water, soon it will be fire, sort of things. You also see where there were 2 murders in the past, 2 deaths in the past couple of weeks there at the cathedral. One was about a week and a half ago, and one, you pop up, happened just yesterday or the night before.
So, just as I'm not sure if this will be a second question or not, but this might be sort of a clarification for that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are deaths that it looks like maybe the insurance adjuster might be investigating.
It
like,
is entirely
maybe liability purposes. Like, nobody knows exactly what happened, but 2 people were found dead on church grounds, and their families have filed something.
Very possibly. One of them was a drifter, the first death, and he was cut hundreds of times and left to bleed to death. He had apparently was sleeping in part of the back of the church that isn't used. He had come in through an open window, and he was found by Father Amhurst, who called the police to say, this person's here, but had been cut all of these many, many times and bled to death in a storeroom. The other was a caretaker, the one just the 2 nights ago, who was found again by Father Amhurst when he came in the morning. The caretaker would have been there in the evening to clean up, and was found in the sanctuary itself, having apparently died of a heart attack while cleaning the stained glass windows.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think he's basically saying, okay, he's probably not reading them word for word, but he's like giving summations, like, okay, because he doesn't figure you care about like a whole lot of like the details that might just go in as filler to this local paper. So he's telling you on this date, like, this person died on the church grounds. They appeared to be some sort of drifter who had basically hidden out in the church to get out of the heat. And they were found one morning by this Father Amhurst, dead and mutilated. Next, we had this person that was a caretaker at the church that was found dead in the sanctuary of an apparent heart attack or some other sort of cardiac episode.
What do you think of that, Mawar? Oh, I think you're trying to... Excellent. So I think this might be things I've seen, trying to trigger maybe that. All right. You may declare that you've seen it before, which you are. Can ask you some questions about the encounter, and then tell you one useful fact you've learned and one danger you need to watch out for. Okay. So where have you encountered something like this before? Hmm. All right. I think that what really strikes you is, yes, the kind of territorialness of it. Um, the this drifter so brutally attacked probably rings true with you on that. Um, and what you kind of remember is that with creatures who are territorial like that, they have protections in that territory, or they can make that territory their own, disconnecting it from the world, using their powers to manipulate that area to their whim. And that you know, if that's the case in this church, then you're going to, by entering into the church, you are walking into enemy territory. So you will have to be very careful when you make that actual entryway. And that, perhaps usually there is something that will anchor it to the mortal world, to the normal world. And that's often key. If you can find that, or if you can destroy that, or take control of it, often it gives you power over their territory.
Are you? And Celine like leans back and says that you really think that we've got some sort of like uh, Philippine cryptid here? I mean, it's not impossible, but it seems like a big stretch of territory. Especially, I mean, if we were on the West Coast, I would say, oh yes, there are plenty of communities that might bring that sort of thing with them as far as their folklore. But Utah? Something similar, maybe. Okay. Why would it see if it's territorial? And I'm throwing things out here just for us to brainstorm because number one, we have to kill time while we're driving, and number two, because you've encountered some of these things that I haven't. If it's territorial, obviously it would obviously attack the drifter fellow who like snuck in and hid in a closet. Like that certainly fits. But the fellow who's an actual like hired groundskeeper or caretaker or whatever who passed away in the sanctuary, like that doesn't seem to fit that sort of territorial pattern. Like that was one of the people that you would think under most territorial rules would have sort of a tacit permission to be there. Like it obviously doesn't attack the priest because the priest is alive and finds these things. So it's not attacking them. And I would figure likewise that sort of situation would extend to the people who are legitimately like hired to perform duties there, especially duties of upkeep.
Mm.
Well, and animals' territorial instincts are not always completely scrutable to humans. So,
Is there a second question, Chris?
yeah, I think my second question. Let me jump back to my list of them. Just as a follow up, I think I've done my what is concealed here. I think, and we'll see like what this might be something that I'm able to discover more details about just through a little bit more research. But I'm thinking the what happened here in regards to the second situation with the caretaker.
Okay.
Like that seems different categorically as far as reactions go than the drifter. Like the drifter seems definitely some sort of attack, like animal or monster attack. Like I
Okay.
definitely see that. The other one, that seems a little bit different. So I want to see what happened here with that.
And you're doing pretty extensive, research. You're looking through a bunch of different things, and you stumble upon a local community board for St. George. It's not even like the what's happening in St. George that the city puts out. It's a really rather obscure one where various people of faith kind of talk and just communicate between each other, often to organize charities together and all that. But there's a sub conversation that pulls up where one of the people on there is talking about having decided to leave St. George Cathedral as a congregant. And, there's the usual, please come visit our church. We're hoping to, we're welcoming and opening to everyone sort of thing. People rallying to give them a place to go. But what strikes you is why this person left. While the father was preaching, this person says, I would swear as I looked out the windows, I saw the flames of hell licking up the side of the cathedral and the dead wailing in pain outside, staring at me as though they were coming for me.
I'm going to do a screen cap of that. And save it to the little our little desktop. I'm going to say this is probably on his. He's probably doing this with his tablet while his phone's got the nav stuff working.
Okay.
And he specifically points us out and said, "All right, here's this post." He reads he reads this one word for word because he figures there might be something significant in what they say and how they say it.
Okay.
I think he gives that word to word to Moir, and says that seems a little bit of an awkward bit of imagery to for someone to have while they're literally at church. I don't pretend to have the greatest insight into Christian services, but most of the time the imageries that are associated with the actual service aren't those tending to be more like heavenly or revelatory or you're sure they're not here somewhere?
And I'm going to hang that line as I come to you there, Sarah. You've left the Airstream, and I think it's fair to say you can sort of go anywhere on the firmament fairly easily. What are you doing? Are you dropping into St. George early to take a look? What are you doing right now?
Let's say it's like during a service.
Excellent. So you arrive at St. George Cathedral. I think that we'll say it's a Wednesday. So this isn't high church, but he's performing a mass. For those to come out, it is late afternoon. You imagine your friends will arrive probably this evening, 8 or 9 o'clock. As you come, there are
kind of appearing like in the back.
Okay. Trying to be not like shocking everyone. You're not coming out or okay. There may be a dozen and a half people there. Mostly older, the kind of folks who will come on a Wednesday afternoon to take communion. And as you arrive in the back, kind of quietly to sit and watch, Father Amhurst is up in the pulpit and he is railing against, as you have seen, the wickedness of this world. It is increasing. We find the answers every time we look at the news. The Fox will tell us that there are terrible things going on in this world. We listen to the wisdom of people like the great Pat Robertson, who tells us that forces are causing great calamities upon this earth. And who is responsible? So many of these people now are not willing to speak out against wickedness, but I'm not one of those people. I'm speaking out here. It is homosexuals. It is the ungodly. It is those who would take away our freedoms. It is those who wish to tear us away from the Lord by taking him from our schools, taking him from our government, taking him from our streets. We are going to stand up to that, my friends. We are starting a crusade for the Lord. And you see these older people are nodding, and occasionally you'll get a murmur of assent. There's a hallelujah here and there. And as he finishes his railing, he begins to do communion. And you can tell he does not do the transfiguration. His blessing does not convert the body. And inside of here, as he's speaking, you can hear the roar of flames outside of this church. You can just hear it. And from behind the pulpit, as he comes down and begins handing out going through communion, you see a form behind him. It seems like no one else is noticing it. But it is of Peter. But it is a twisted, broken figure of St. Peter. And there is this malicious smile with great jagged teeth. And you could see the blood from his hands and blood running up his body. As though, even though he is upright, he is still being crucified upside down.
And I think as he comes down, like I've taken a seat on like the last pew, and as he comes toward me and like hands me the little cup of wine and like the little cracker, I just want to meet his eye. Like I don't take it, but I say, "You son of the devil, you enemy of all righteousness, full of deceit and villainy, will you not stop making crooked the straight paths of the Lord?"
Ooh. Do we think that are you
doing something?
Are you attempting to manipulate him in some way? Are you trying to cast out an evil? Are you even trying to maybe read a bad situation?
I don't think it's, well, maybe manipulate, but I think
it could be an act of
looking at the outcomes for act under pressure. I don't feel like that applies.
Yeah.
I guess manipulate someone.
All right. And this is with perhaps the intent for him to repent? Or to tell him something?
Either repent or reveal his purpose.
Okay. All right, then. Well, let's roll manipulate someone, and that's with charm.
Charm is my worst stat. And it doesn't get any better, so that is a 4.
Do you wish to use a luck?
I think it'd be interesting to see a failure here.
All right. So let me make sure nothing in particular. No. So, as you say this to him, and you're looking in his eyes go almost like they're stained glass, almost like the image of eyes in their place. And reflected in them is that upside down image of Peter crucified. As he says, "Your words hold no power here. This is not your place. Be gone." And as he says this, you feel yourself repulsed from his presence, from inside of this church, and you discorporate here. I'd like for you to take 2 harm as you find yourself just outside of the gates of the church ground. Inside, you hear the people, "Hallelujah! Hallelujah!" as they're chanting over the top of this preacher, leading them with this almost feral scream of, "Out, demons! Out!" And I think we're going to take our break here on that.
As soon as they've parked, like, the door opens.
Excellent. Mawar and Salim, as you arrive, despite seeing no one walking up to the Airstream, the door opens and your friend enters.
Okay, now with the Airstream, that's kind of a trailer so much. So have we had time to like stop and like get into the trailer to sort of get our bearings and everything?
So it doesn't have a pull through?
I don't think so. There's probably a model that has that. I wasn't thinking that though.
Gotcha. Okay. So y'all had parked and gone back there, we'll say, and that's when
Probably, yeah, maybe to change and freshen up because we've been in the car for like 6 or 7 hours.
Okay.
I've been to the cathedral, and I've been out of it again.
The place where the murders happened?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know you knew about that part. Okay. What did you see? I mean, did you go after hours? Did you go like during business hours? I mean, what does it have business hours?
God has no business hours, but this is not a place of God. The Father there is of the lake of fire, and I heard its flames around the stones.
Oh.
And saw the bloodied face of St. Peter, but it was not St. Peter as he is.
Okay. That is heavier than I was thinking. Okay. Okay, here's what we have. Nothing quite that dramatic. And I go back through and kind of detail for Anil all of the kind of things we'd sort of put together on the drive and like the ideas we had about whatever that there was some creature entity there that might have been physically attacking people, but the physical attack thing didn't seem to match up with the second death, which was like a caretaker employee type person. And then we told them, and then of course we share with her that last report on, I guess, the St. George Reddit board or something, like the about what they had seen in the cathedral, and said, okay, well, what you described seems to fit with what this anonymous person on the internet reported that they felt during a service there and why they left. So
the dead are rising in this town. There's a spirit here, not of God.
Like dead are rising. Okay, let's get more specific. Are we dealing with like vampire vampire situation? Like, did I bring the wrong set of equipment? He like leans back, and you see like the swords, and the and the blessed knife, and a couple of other like just sort of general weapons, but nothing like no wooden stakes or anything like that. Like, did I bring the wrong set of equipment? What do we have here?
The tools you have will suffice, I think. I have not been told what precisely is causing this, but it is a spirit of the dead. And I believe the father of the cathedral was involved as well.
Is he possessed? Maybe is that what's going on? Like, is he attacking things, or is this some entity that sort of
He
invaded?
is attacking the people of the cathedral with his words, not his hands.
Okay, so he's using that sort of he's sowing discord, I guess, with his services, kind of thing. Like
Yes.
okay, all right. So
why are we at a strip mall?
that's the other thing. I received a bit of information that the situation we were confronting might also be connected by the fellow that owns and operates that business, and he points to the Molina Insurance Agency, and that he might be in danger based on some things he was looking into that would lead him to dark places.
And as you
He's
say that, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
no, go ahead.
As you say that, you see a man exiting that insurance office. His face matches the face that's on the bench outside of it, painted on the bench outside of it that says, Molina Insurance Company, we're here to keep your family secure. And he seems to be walking out towards his late model Beamer. He's got a briefcase, and he seems to be getting ready to get into it.
And that would be him. And I think Salim says, hold on a moment. Let me see if I can make some kind of contact. And I think Salim approaches and sort of tries to wave him down.
Okay, so you leave the Airstream to go speak with him. Anil, do you go with him?
I am going to watch this, from like the doorway of the Airstream.
All right, Mawar, what are you doing? Are you going with him, or you're muted, my dear? Oh, okay. Okay, so you're peering through. As Salim goes walking over, Salim, what do you say as you walk up?
So, excuse me, are you Mr. Molina of the insurance agency?
Yes. Are you in the market for some insurance?
I may be, but I do need to speak with you about another matter, which I think you might already be investigating. That
We cover recreational vehicles. Best rates you're going to find, dependent on your driving record, of course.
We do. That may be something to speak about as well. But the first thing I need to speak with you about is an investigation of a possible wrongful death.
Oh, life insurance. I cover life insurance as well. You seem to be healthy. I bet you I could get you rates that will be bottomed out of anyone else's offers for you. A man can't have enough life insurance.
And he leans in and says, yes, my health is not probably what it should be. So life insurance is probably not something I can afford. But there is a situation with this wrongful death with a possibility of legal action that I would like to talk with you about, because it had come to my attention that you had been dealing with an investigation of the same situation.
What situation are you talking about?
And he points out the do you carry, does your agency carry the insurance policy for the St. George Cathedral?
Oh, well, I don't. And you can see him kind of get a look on his face like he's putting some things together. we don't cover the cathedral itself. By the way, just to put some names down, the drifter we're going to have is Mr. Henry, and the caretaker was George McAllister.
Okay.
He says, I don't cover the cathedral itself, but while I was driving over there right this moment, I discovered that, well, I've been contacted that someone in our insurance network has filed a claim having to do with the cathedral.
Yes, and that claim is one of the things I'm investigating. Obviously, having 2 deaths in a relatively short period of time on a property is an unfortunate situation, and any insurance company, as you well know, would certainly be uncomfortable with that situation. Obviously, there's some sort of dangerous circumstance that needs to be dealt with regards to that particular property.
Were you are you some sort of private investigator? Did the Henry family hire you?
And he sort of leans in and he says, not only the Henry family.
I see. Sounds like you're wanting to get some information out of him. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, and he basically sort of kind of get him to kind of maybe slowly reveal like what he was going out there for and what other contracts he might have on them.
Sounds like to manipulate someone.
So let's see how that goes.
That's charm.
My charm isn't terrible, but it's not great either. So let's see how this goes. All right, that's a 7 on the dice. I think my charm is currently at 1. Yep, I have a charm of 1, so that's an 8. So let's see what that gives me.
So you got an 8?
Yep. So
okay. They're going to do it, but only if you do something for them right now to show you mean it. If you ask too much, they'll tell you what, if anything, it would take for you to do it. I'm going to kind of just shift off for a moment because, Mawar, as you're looking through your binoculars watching this, you see the interaction going on. But through your binoculars, you see a reflection in the mirror, in the window behind them. A face that you've seen before. A creature that has popped up, seems to be following you. It's been everywhere you've traveled. Demonic, evil face laughing. And in a whisper that only you can hear. If you go to the cathedral, you will die, Mawar. And then you will serve no purpose to me. Stay away. Anil, roll me an act under pressure with Sharp, if you would, please.
Sure. That is a 9. So, worst outcome, hard choice, oh, choice. Oh, wait, act under pressure is cool. Oh, that's actually, sorry, that's 10. No, you said Sharp.
Yeah, I'm having you roll this one with Sharp. Cool. You do, as Mawara motions you to look, you do think you see something. Is it just how the light's playing off, or is there a face? Is there something? I'm going to give you a choice here. You can tell that that something's there. Mawar has seen something. You can get out and walk over there if you want. Get closer. And perhaps see better. Or you can just go with the idea that Mawar has seen something as it's beginning to fade away.
Mawar, do you look like shaken or finally pointed it out to me, you mean? Yeah, I will disappear and appear by the car.
You appear. Are you? I think I'm just going to have you placed closer to that window than where they are. So I think Salim, looking over this guy's shoulder, you suddenly see a Neil appear behind y'all. Guy probably has not quite noticed yet, but Anil, as you appear there in the window, at the window, you definitely see this demonic presence reflected there, and it seems to recognize you, and it smiles this gleeful, evil smile.
And I look at it and tell it, and we like get this weird overlay of its face in the glass, in the reflection of my face in the glass.
Excellent.
You shall be thrown alive into the lake of fire, which burns with brimstone, from whence you have come. Begone. Like, not particularly loudly or anything.
You're gonna try to cast it out?
Yes.
Excellent. Roll.
Oh no. That is a 5.
Do you wish to use a luck or?
No.
No. As you say this, it laughs. We are bound, you and I. From on high a task is given you, and from below a task is given me. We shall meet in the end, for we are working together. Deva. Be watching you. And he sort of steps back. You see him retreat, but not into the room, just sort of diminishing out of the window. This may be your opposite number in the pursuit of the apocalypse. And it strikes you that if it has come to Mawar, then Mawar may be seen in the prophecy from below.
I think we get the shot of Anil just like turning around to look back at the Airstream.
Ooh, or maybe she looks like she focuses on the reflection of the Airstream and then she sees the two binoculars.
It's good, yeah.
All right. We're going to come back, I think, then to you, Salim, and you rolled an 8. He says, well, it was rather a surprise. I just received a call today that Mr. Henry's family had a rather sizable life insurance policy out on him, and I was planning to head over down to speak with Father Amhurst and do a little. It's important that I at least look over the scene, have an interview with him. So if you'd care to go with me, if you're working with a family, I'm afraid I can't give you any other information without some credentials.
I would certainly not expect you to share information at that level without me providing you with the documentation. I certainly understand that, but I think it would be advisable for us to cooperate in the investigation. I'll report my findings to the family because my investigations may involve things that you would not routinely investigate as a part of a standard insurance claim, because the family is also looking at the possibility of wrongful death.
I would say there was certainly wrongful death. He was cut over 100 times.
Yes, and if the church and as he's walking around to sort of to talk a little bit more, maybe to obscure his view of of Anil in the background there. Perhaps, and my my associates have some other things that they might be able to investigate on their own while you and I talk to the father and investigate the property.
Associates, you mean the young lady with the binoculars watching us?
Oh yes. And he leans in. They're a trifle paranoid, as you know, but their paranoid tendencies tend to be very useful in investigating these sorts of claims. They see things and notice things that we folks that might be on a more regulated, set of standard presumptions might not notice or might not even take into account.
You know what will give peace of mind? Health insurance and life insurance. You're taking care of yourself here, and you're taking care of your family after you're gone. I can certainly work up a file for each of your associates, and perhaps even we could get a group rate together. That would be, well, the savings would be astronomical.
And he leans in and says, they're independent contractors.
Oh. All right. So I'm going to give you, do you want to go back to your crew and propose this? He says, I'll wait here. And he opens up his car where he kind of looks back and sees you, Anil, and there's a moment of because, you're still somewhat unusual looking and you're staring in his window and he didn't see you come along. So he sort of starts, but
I think Salim looks back and says, "Oh, don't mind Anil. They're available for my more sensitive investigations. They're very good at being places without being seen places."
I see. All right then. I'll give you a few moments. I'm going to go ahead and give Father Amhurst a call to let him know I'm coming. And he gets into the car, and you see him pull out his cell phone.
Yeah. And as he passes me, saying Father Amhurst's name, just beware of false prophets.
And I think Salim waves you over Anil, and back towards the airstream, and he says, "Okay." And once we get over to the airstream, and I'm sort of bringing in Mawar to this sort of tete-a-tete as well. I've spoken to Mr. Molina and convinced him that we are working for the families of the two victims regarding possible wrongful death claims through...
You have lied.
And he looks and says... And he looks over and he leans in and says, "I'm not sure who the secret masters are or what connections they might have to these families, but obviously they care. And so I choose to interpret that in that I am acting to assist." And
does that, how does Anil react to that?
So you're saying that the people who give you missions are connected to the families of the victims?
I believe they are concerned. And whether that's a familial concern or not, I'm not sure. But there are certain times when we, as mortals, have to get places and learn things that we are not normally allowed to access or learn. And to do that, we have to do things that would not be necessarily necessary for you. You can simply be the place you need to be because you need to be there.
If you gain access to these places with deceit, and shakes the head, and again, hand on your shoulder.
And I think he says, we all have our methods of serving the causes we serve, and I don't have access to your methods. I can't do the things that you do. So for me to do the things that I think we need to do, sometimes I have to take measures that you would never have to take because you are empowered to do things differently. I operate here. I operate in the realm of a man because that's what I am.
And you operate in the realm of a man using the devil's tools. Is this the example you used to set for your niece? I think I might want to. Or how do PvP things work?
You're definitely pushing. One of us is manipulating the other, and I'm not sure exactly which one is pushing buttons more.
I like Anil pushing these buttons. I think that makes sense to me. And so, yes, you can manipulate another hunter. And it sounds like you're trying to say, going through using deceit to get your goals is using evil means or using, Satan's means. So you'll be rolling charm, Anil. And,
she's gonna ace this one now.
Let's see. Well, I can't get worse than the 3, so that is charm. Oh, come on. Oh no.
Again.
Oh wait, no. Charm is my charm is a 1, so that's an 8.
All right. With a 7 to 9, they can mark experience if they do what you ask. And I know it's a one shot, but that's experience is experience anyway, baby. I mean,
Oh yeah. Well, and I think you can see that these words from you probably hit him a lot harder than any words from anybody else because he has an inkling of what you are. He doesn't have a full understanding, but he has an inkling, I think. And his shoulders slump a little bit, and he looks up at you and he says, "If I told him the truth about what we needed to do, he'd never believe me. I'd be arrested immediately and unable to help. But if you believe for us to succeed in doing what we came here to do, I have to tell him exactly what we're doing and how.
I believe you must not lie in pursuit of your goals."
Okay, how about that sounds like a nice leave on pondering sort of statement. That sound good? And so sounds like, Salim, you're going to head over to the car to get in with him.
Right, and what Salim's going to try and do, and I'll see how well I pull this off, is he's going to try and not lie to him anymore. Like he's going to stop. So
take the experience.
Yeah, he's going to try to be as quiet because, like I said, he had literally just had an angel give you the read you the riot act for So,
all right, so you could take the experience, and as you're heading off to get in the car, Mawar and Anil. Mawar, you just saw Anil pop over there, and you saw the interaction, even if I think for the fun of it, I think you heard a one-sided interaction there. I think you only heard this demon speak, its whisper in your ear. You didn't hear what Anil said to it. So do you say anything to Anil? They basically claimed kinship with Anil.
Right.
They were working to the same goal.
I guess like how can I trust you, Anil? Right, like you went in there just fine, right? To investigate, but I'm not sure we can go in there as easily.
Into the cathedral.
Right. how are we gonna investigate if you're the only one who can join, or if you can do it?
Do you trust in God?
I'm not sure I do.
Mm.
Then you perhaps may be more at risk.
That's what I'm worried about, that we're being set up for some sort of sabotage.
I don't think you should go in.
Ooh.
All right, then how can I help without going in?
There were several murders.
Right.
They took place in the church, but the people who were killed did not live in the church, and they had lives outside of it in the world. Even Father, whatever his name is, Amhurst, has a life outside the walls of that building.
When you were inside the church, you said the dead were rising outside, right?
I've been told that the dead are rising. I have not seen it.
Maybe they're trying to amass some sort of army? I don't know.
All will be made clear, but all is not clear yet. You must make it so.
Mm. So, with that, Mauer, where do you think you'd like to go? It sounds like Anil's suggesting speaking with some of the other people, the families connected, that sort of thing. Do you wish to do that? And then, Anil, what are you thinking of doing? So, Mawar, what do you think you're doing?
Good question. Um,
Are you going to say, I don't trust Anil enough and I'm definitely going in, despite what their warning was?
I like the idea of these like small town newspapers, since that's where we found all our evidence. Maybe I'll go there and see what the reporters did to get all this information.
That's a lovely idea. All right. So, sounds like you're going to head off towards the St. George Gazette. Anil, where do you think you're going?
I kind of want to talk to like some of the other parishioners, like maybe some of the ones who left.
Okay. I think for both of both to keep us moving along, and it makes sense with your what you have there. I think that you can sort of sense who some of these would be. The names come to you.
Is perhaps one of them a reporter?
Sure, absolutely. So perhaps go. The two of you go together. All right. And so you get the Airstream and begin heading over to the Gazette. Meanwhile, Celine, as you get into the car, Melina says, he says, I've just gotten off the phone with Father Amhurst. He's, well, I can't say he's the most pleasant gentleman, but he's agreed to speak with me, about what's going on. And then afterwards, I'll head over and you can accompany me if you'd like to the church to look it over. I can only hope that he won't object to that. And y'all start driving off.
And I think he asked a couple of questions, though. He's not making any more statements. So the father doesn't want to meet us at the church?
I figured, I offered to come by his home, and if he wishes to accompany us, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But he's at home at the moment.
Okay. So his home isn't near the church. It's not one of those where there's like a parsonage or something near the church, or something like that.
He lives very close, on the same block, but it is separate from the church. They bought a little ranch house there. Fire and earthquake insurance, if I remember correctly.
He nods. He's silent for a little while longer, and He's going to avoid making statements. He's just going to ask questions.
Okay. And you kind of, just are able to get out of him in general conversation that the family of this Mr. Henry is who's gotten in touch with him, and that they're actually a rather wealthy family, and he has been missing from the family for years. But that they had a life insurance policy on him since he was a kid, and it's going to pay off at a pretty high amount, which is why the insurance network got in touch with him as a local representative to go and investigate. Got to pop over to the Gazette, though. As the two of you arrive, you could see that it is still open, even though it's pretty late now. At least there's a light on. And as you go to the door, it's locked, but you can see inside there is a young lady busily typing on a computer. You can see where they've got, the stuff up. There's a storyboards and the layout boards and stuff. And then you guess to the back is probably where they have the printing press. This is a very small newspaper, so it's not like a huge building. But you can definitely see her through there. And this person does ring true as the congregant that left. You were led here, Anil. Do y'all knock on the door?
Well, it's open, right? Is the door locked?
The door's locked. Yeah, this is after hours. You can just see through the window that she's there, probably working on a story.
Sure. Yeah, I'll knock on the door.
Knock on the door. She looks up and comes up to the door, unlocks it up. Yes, can I help you?
We've read these stories about the recent murders at the church and had some questions.
Oh. I see. And, she kind of looks you over and sort of relaxes, Malar, with your presence. And looking at Anil, there's, normally Anil people kind of give you an odd look, but for some reason she seems very comfortable with Mamar's presence. Certainly come in. It's a very strange situation over there. My name's Ansley.
I'm Mawar.
Oh, I'm Mar.
I see. Oh, it's a pleasure.
Please come in. Are you just looking for information about it? Why are you interested?
You were a congregant there once, but no longer.
No, the father's, I was brought up in the church, and the father's always had a streak of, well, fire and brimstone. But things began to change, and with my parents no longer being able to go out as much, and the father really doesn't go and visit shut-ins like he used to. I just didn't feel like the church was for me anymore. She kind of looks over at Mawar and says, honestly, I saw some things there that just made me very uncomfortable.
What sort of things?
And by the way, I'm triggering your move there.
Right. Fellow believer.
She kind of leans in and says, there are things outside the windows. When the father preaches, their faces, horrible, agonized faces. The others act like they don't see them. I tried talking with them, and they told me that if I looked into it too far, that, well, I'm not going to say they threatened me, but they made it very clear that I shouldn't do that. I just didn't feel comfortable there anymore. And like I say, I grew up in that church. I knew it well. But one of the windows changed. It was as though the color just bled out of it. St. Peter, the face had always been, well, I can remember sitting in the pew and looking and knowing that his strength had gotten him through his trials, that his faith had protected him. But the face there leered. It was though it stared at me, knowing that the pain, the Lord would not take it away. It wasn't the message that I had grown up with. I just decided I had to go.
Did something cause this? Like, did the window change after some event?
It didn't seem that important at the time, but I noticed it after the Father. Mass had changed. Before when we drank of the blood, there was a certain cleansing. I could feel it. But when he gave me communion, the wine, it was sour. It curdled in my mouth. I thought he must have just opened a bad bottle. That's when I noticed St. Peter leering at me. It was as though the blood of the Lamb was no longer washing our sins away.
Has this extended outside the church at all? Like, I know that you've left, but have you seen other signs around town?
I haven't, but I'm not the only one who left. And there was an older lady. She'd been at the church longer than even Father Amhurst. She spoke up. She said that Father Amhurst was leading people astray, and the congregation had made it very unfriendly to her. She called me and told me that she kept seeing something in the windows of her bedroom, in the windows of her kitchen, watching her. Normally a good reporter doesn't do leading questions, but I said, was it St. Peter? She told me no. It was St. George. But it wasn't the St. George of the windows, she said. She said his white tunic was black, that the cross bled, and that his face was closer to that of the dragon than to his own. She passed away not long after that. They found her. She was older. They said it was a heart attack. But they found her at her bedroom window. And when I went to look, I would swear paint at the window had peeled like there had been a fire. I couldn't report that, though. People would think I was crazy.
Are you the one reporting these stories? Like, do you think it's safe for us to investigate the church?
I'll tell you, the congregants that are there, especially these new ones, I think they could be violent, especially if Father Amherst riled them up. They're suspicious of outsiders, and, well, honestly, they they see anyone who doesn't fully agree with Father Amhurst as apostates, as heathens. They could possibly, well, they would certainly not be happy to see you investigating. It could be dangerous for you.
Thank you for letting me know. That's very important information. I will not go into this dangerous thing alone.
Well, it kind of is a burden off of me to tell someone, and I don't know, you just look like someone who would understand. And she'll hug you. She kind of just, like
Right.
like a relief is off her shoulders that she finally was able to tell someone who took her seriously.
Head back and like rub her shoulders, like finally relax.
Okay. Do you, after that, y'all, the two of you leave? Anil, is there anything you wish to do before you leave?
I don't
Wait.
think so.
Investigate here, like see if there's any artifacts or stories.
You certainly could. Yeah, if you'd like to roll an investigative mystery, and it can kind of be, it'll reflect maybe asking that right question to her, looking over the things she has, that sort of thing, certainly. Roll it.
Roll, so it's exciting. Should I make my own color dice, or
Whatever makes you happier. You can re-roll one of those or put your own in.
do blue? I got it on the dice. Exciting. And it's sharp.
Sharp.
+2, so 8.
Oh, okay. All right, so you get a hold one. What question would you like to ask?
I like, how can we hurt it? Can we hurt this creature?
She has, you're looking through things, and clearly this has bothered her enough that she's kept looking, and you see she's got pictures that are there. One of them is of the window of St. Peter, and it does, compared to like the window next to it, where you see the image. It's an image of the dragon that St. George slew, rearing up, but it's definitely been painted into the demonic form, as in, it's reflective of a creature of Satan. But it's much brighter than the colors of that St. Peter. That St. Peter window looks very washed out. And another photo, as you're looking from the other side of the building, you indeed see St. George in his armor and all, his tunic's white and everything. But it's also completely washed out. And it strikes you, however this thing is acting, somehow it's coming through these windows.
Right, I think I'll snap pictures of those pictures to show Salim.
Okay. And she's happy to let you have or give you copies of anything that she's come up with. And so the two of you head out and go back to the Airstream. Anything y'all want to discuss real quick before we scoot over to Chris?
Tell me about the windows.
Momar, you let her know about
Yeah.
Mhm.
That we found, or we think that this creature is like protecting something. Like, that's what defines where its territory is. So I think those are the windows. Like when these windows changed, have been when this creature came.
And the creature that you pointed out to me spoke to me through a car window.
That's true. It's been following us, so
Something in both of your minds says, though, You think this is different. You don't think that demon is the same. It even seemed to be warning you off, Moir, saying, don't go there. You will cease to serve my purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like your own personal version.
So as you get to the Airstream, I'm going to switch to Chris, but where are y'all going from here? Are you driving to the church? Are you going to get in touch with Salim to find out where he is? What would y'all like to do? What you think, Sarah?
Salim, I think.
Okay. Alrighty. So, Salim, you drive with him in his Beamer. Reminds me of an old joke. What's the difference between a Beamer and a porcupine? Porcupine has its pricks on the outside. But you're driving along in with him with his Beamer, and he is busily trying to sell you insurance while at the same time you're getting a bit of information out of him as you drive past the cathedral, and you see it there. It's not in great shape anymore. You have the picture there. It's the outside has cracks there around the eaves. It's a bit mildewy, but those windows are really very beautiful. There are 4 down each side of the main body of the church. At the back of the church, where the drifter was found, is kind of its administrative bit. It's just a freestanding square there. And then behind that, you can see the graveyard that stretches pretty far back. But those windows, they are lovely. Great construction, great craftsmanship was put into them. And there is over the entryway one large stained glass window in which you can see there is the image of Christ arisen, that sort of floating arms out, the halo, the nimbus around the head, that is over the entryway, and then 4 down each side.
And I think as we're driving past, I think Salim says, "Hey, are those the original windows? That building?"
Oh, yes. Over 100 years old. One of the first Spanish settlers started the church way back in the 1800s. But then in the 1880s, they had the windows installed. Really a wonder. Absolutely beautiful. Should be insured heavily, I tell you.
They're not?
Not by me. Once again, I don't handle the cathedral.
And he's looking over his, and I'm sure they have them like backlit during the night just to really show them off, right?
They do, but there's kind of a reddish light from the interior. I mean, it's reddy orange. So even though they're beautiful, there is that kind of strangely fire-like light to the windows.
Wow, they certainly are striking.
He drives maybe another block, not even a whole block down, to a small ranch house. This church is still within the city, but there isn't a lot of build up around it. There's a few houses here and there, but it's not like there's subdivisions. There's a park that you go by, but it's not like it's an extensive one. That sort of feel. It's kind of the older edge of a suburb. And as you pull up to the ranch, you see, obviously waiting and watching for you to arrive, you see Father Amhurst come striding out, and he's got his face kind of locked in this look of kind of impatience and a little bit of anger. He's wearing a cassock, is that right? Cassock. But you're not sure, and you have yet to see anything about him that this is Catholic. It's very likely that he is not actually part of the Catholic Church.
He has that sort of vaguely priestly attire, but none of it looks official. Like he doesn't have like the things you would expect on an official one.
Correct. And he comes straight to the car. As Melina is opening the door, he says, Melina, what is all this about? And when you get out, he kind of looks over and who is this?
And at this point, he just sort of looks over at Melina because he's going to let him take the lead with the local. Like he nods to Melina, like, this is your town,
Melina begins explaining that family members of the of Mr. Henry had gotten in touch, that there was an insurance policy on him that he's investigating. As part of that, he would appreciate if Father Amhurst would allow him to go and see where the crime was, and he'd like to take a statement for Father Amhurst. And mentions that you are an investigator interested in this as well. That and he will say, working for the families,
and he'll pop and say, interested parties.
He's looking into this, and I could use the professional help, Father. It's not like I'm a private investigator or anything. Would you mind terribly if could I trouble you for maybe the keys, or would you like to show us in? And you can see Father Amhurst is just getting madder and madder at the thought of, it's like, I've given all access to the police. It is a shame that this man, this drifter, this person outside of the grace of the Lord chose to come into the house of the Lord and defile it. Clearly he brought in troubles of his own. I imagine that he brought in some sort of harlot who struck him down, or some drug user or foreigner. But the police, they haven't found anything. Useless, all of them. So, well, Father, I just need to look it over, make my report. And Father says, I don't think. But as he says that, you could see his demeanor sort of change. Oh, well, yes. Certainly, Mr. Molina, absolutely. I'm more than happy to take you to the church, you and your investigator friend. Yes, this will get this all taken care of immediately. The less troubles that bother my congregation, the better. And sooner this is taken care of, the sooner I'll be happy. So certainly, come on. We'll walk right over.
And at this point, I think I would like to read a bad situation.
All righty. Why don't we have you do that? As at the same time, your phone is ringing. I'm guessing as Mawar. I don't know if Anil's much of a phone person, but I'm going to say Mawar is giving you a call.
Ooh, okay. Read a bad
time since this is a movie.
Let's see, for read a bad situation, what stat is that one? I've forgotten.
Sharp.
Okay, so that is a 4 on the dice, plus 2 from sharp is a 6.
So, care to use a luck?
I think being clueless at this stage is actually a little bit more interesting.
All right then.
I think he's just thinking, no, that this guy's just a jerk.
Okay.
Right now, that's all he's thinking. Like he's not picking up on anything diabolical. He's just thinking, this guy's a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.
Absolutely. And you'd probably be right. So he's riding off, and Melina's kind of hurried to catch up with him. And that Father Amhurst is moving with purpose. He is not slowing down and not even really looking back to make sure you're following. As I'm guessing you start to follow, and your phone rings, it's Mawar. Everybody's muted.
And he looks down at his phone, sees that it's Mawar. Okay, and he holds back for he sort of walks a little bit slower, and says, Salim,
we found what was what this creature's trying to guard. The windows. The windows all started.
The windows changed. I thought the windows have been on there since like 1880 something.
They may have been, but they've like lost color and I think even changed what they depict.
Oh, the glass didn't change. Something changed about the window. Okay, I think I understand.
Right. They're somehow corrupting the church.
As you're walking, Melina's actually had to get into a little bit of a trot to keep up with Father Amhurst, who has taken his keys out and opened the door. And
we're I'm sort of speeding up to catch up, and so we're about to enter the cathedral now with Melina. No, I don't necessarily think anything's going to happen, but if something does, you and Anil might want to be close and available for this. And then he's like, and he says, I'm gonna leave my phone on, just in case. But I'm gonna keep it on mute for me, so just so you can hear what's going on. And
Okay.
he clicks the mute button and puts it back in the cradle.
And Mawar, are you starting to drive in the direction of the cathedral?
Yeah, I'm imagining because I have a motorcycle, so this is a good time to use it.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna pull your motorcycle off the back of the Airstream and start driving over. I'm interested. Anil, are you hopping on the back of the motorcycle, or
no? Please say it has a sidecar. Please say it has.
I don't know if I could fit a motorcycle in the sidecar on the stream.
I'll just pop over.
Okay. So the motorcycle's roaring down as you, Salim, you see Melina follow in with Father Amhurst as you kind of hurry to get over there. I think that boink, we have you, Anil, sort of pop in, seeing from a distance just as Salim gets to the door and Father Amhurst holding it open. Salim, you step in as we can hear in the distance the motorcycle roaring up. We've got 10 minutes of what I had figured scheduled. Do we feel comfortable, capable of going 10 minutes over? Does that feel okay?
Yeah.
Anybody pressed over much? All right. Anyone I'm gonna try and get us to a place where we have our mystery solution, but if we have to, we can always epilogue out. So as Anil, you watch. Salim, you step through the doorway. Mawar, you've probably got, I don't know, maybe earphones on so you can hear the mute or something, an earbud in or Bluetooth. That connection goes dead. Just nothing but static. As Anil, you see the door close behind Salim. Salim, you enter into this church, and indeed, there are, at the altar, there are two kind of like electric candelabra. Rather than having real candles, they have a candelabra set on either side. The electric bulbs, they're giving off this very orangey red light that bathes the entire sanctuary in this kind of red glow. And despite the light being from the inside and it being dark outside, there does seem to be a matching red glow that's shining through the stained glass windows. Melina is keeping up a constant running babble of, I just need to go and see. I believe it was in the back that where Mr. Henry was, as Father walks straight down the center to the altar, Melina trying to keep behind him. And as he reaches the altar, he turns to look at Melina. Melina kind of stutters to a stop because the look on Father Amhurst's face, it is as though the flesh has taken on that stained glass. There are the lines of the lead. His mouth is stretched unnaturally. His teeth seem to have a point to them. his eyes, again, like stained glass, and there is that fiery glow behind them. You are a sinner, and you shall pay.
At this point, I'm going to try and tackle Melina away from the father. Just like, so like as the father starts staring at him, like I'm just going to do a running tackle to take Melina, just like maybe away from the altar, maybe towards the corner, something just away from Father Amhurst.
Excellent. That sounds like protect someone.
So let's see how that goes.
You're rolling with tough.
Okay, I have a +1 on tough, so let's see how that goes. That will be a 6. I think I'm going to spend one of those luck on that one. I kind of, I kind of don't want him to
Excellent.
fight it at this point. So with luck, am I deducting a point of luck or am I adding it?
You take away a point of luck.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And
so on the 12, I think that gives me a 12. Is that right? Okay.
That's right.
So let's see.
Well, I'm going to tell you what happens, and then you can make a decision how you wish to do it. So you're going to protect him. You knock him out of the side. As it seems as though stepping out from the body, just like moving out from Father Amhurst, is this image of St. Peter. And his hands, like stained glass, he seems to be made of stained glass. Even that one-dimensional aspect, he steps out, and the fingers are pointed, that lead coming to points as he has slashed towards Melina. And Father Amhurst, as this thing has stepped out of him, sort of gives this exultant cry as he falls back against the altar. Yes! He says. So, with that in mind, what are your options there for protect someone?
On a 10 plus, I protect them okay, or the base situation is I protect them okay. But I'll suffer some or all of the harm they were going to get.
And you will be.
And on a 10 plus, I get to choose an extra.
You do.
I think the extra I'm going to choose is that that I inflict harm on the enemy.
Ooh, all right.
I think maybe the way that happens, and you can let me know if this passes muster with how things are playing out. If the thing tries to go and like stab me through the back after I've sort of tackled Melina out of the way, but that's where that dagger is, the holy dagger.
Ooh,
and it stabs through, like maybe one of the little finger blades just shatters when it makes contact with the dagger.
I like that very much. It slashes, and you could feel the burn as these lead sharp claws shriek down your chest, and you're going to take 3 harm, and blood is going to spurt out from this. But as there is this sound, the dull sound of lead hitting the perfect ring of that blade, and as it hits it, the hand shatters back to the elbow, and this figure looks, and the stained glass face takes on this look of surprise and kind of fear, but lets out this high-pitched, keening wail of anger. Anil, what are you doing? You can feel the evil.
Will you let me just teleport in? I feel like I might be stealing the man of the plan.
You can teleport. You attempt that teleport and appear right at the door.
Okay.
Behind you, a motorcycle is pulling up.
All right, then I would like to use no limits and like wrench the door off of its hinges.
Absolutely awesome. Let's get an act under pressure here. And we will do it with cool.
Now, is that separate from No Limits, or?
Not that's separate from no. Let's see. Your no limits. Does it have a roll? I thought it did just an automatic.
It does. It's weird.
Oh, well, let's roll that then. Let's roll it.
This is pushing our physical body past it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's roll that.
That's a 7. I actually wanted to use my luck here.
Excellent choice.
It's 2, so.
And I had been saying I wanted to use the bonus luck things, but we're at such a time press thing. I'm not going to bring those in at the moment, I don't think.
Okay. So yeah, your body obeys your will to the limits of physical possibility for a moment.
You feel the strain, and it's far more than these doors should be able to do. I mean, you're bringing forth your righteous strength, and as you pull, there's a scream from the hinges, from the doors themselves, as though the wail of the damned is there. And as you pull them back, the handles are hot, and for a moment you can feel the fire around you crackling, as though what you saw through the windows is all around you. And looking down the center aisle, you see the scene I showed you before of this St. Peter. There, it's shattered arm and your bleeding friend, and the priest, yes, and Melina going, what the hell?
Literally. Yeah, I think I would like to see what Mawar does, because I just had that move.
Okay.
But yeah, I've cleared the way.
Mawar, you have roared up, and you could see, just down the path there at the doors, Anil having thrown it open. What are you doing?
I'm trying not
You're
to.
muted, my art.
I'm trying not to break through the glass with my motorcycle. That's very.
I think that's an awesome thing.
All right, sure. So I'll get up on the pavement and try to jump through the window on the motorcycle.
Oh, that's okay. All righty. So you're revving up. Is there one of the windows you're looking particularly to try and go after?
I think just the one that Anil told me about before.
The St. Peter?
Yeah, St. Peter. That was the first one we heard about, I think.
Excellent. I'm gonna have you do a 2-part roll. First, let's act under pressure to see how well you manage to jump the motorcycle through.
What is that roll with?
Cool.
I got a 7.
Okay. At the moment, the keeper is going to give you a worse outcome, hard choice, or price to pay. I think that you're going to be able to smash right through it, but you're probably going to be cut up by the shards and the lead as you go through. You can use a luck if you'd like.
Sure, I'll use a luck. It's 3, so I might as well.
All righty. So you smashing through this window. Salim, Anil, you see this motorcycle leap through the air, smashing into the window. Now I need for you to roll the second part of this, Asher, if you would, please. I want you to roll with... I think I'm going to have you roll with tough here. Which is, there's a custom move for smashing the windows.
Oh, okay. Thought I was going to be kick some ass, but taking the windows off. I got a 10.
Excellent. The window explodes in as the motorcycle and Moar follow it, the exploding window in. The St. Peter image there looks up kind of in astonishment as this is happening and disintegrates, shatters, just like the window did previously. And we hear the tinkle, tinkle, tinkle of glass all around as Father Amhurst, no, no! And you coming through, even with your amazing roll, it's kind of, you've landed your motorcycle in the pews, you're perfectly under, but the motorcycle's probably not riding around anymore, it's sitting on a pew. And so, there's kind of the put of the motorcycle idling, the sound of the glass still sort of crunching as it's on the ground, and the yell of Father Amhurst, but it's quiet for a moment. Anil, you're there at the door. I think I'm going to hop to you. What do you do?
Well, Salim looks is bleeding like onto the carpet on the floor. I think in that quiet we hear like the sound of like my boots on the soft carpet, and I like looking toward Father Amhurst. I'm gonna kneel down beside Salim, and I want to use lay on hands. It's like one hand on your forehead, one hand on your chest.
I think Salim's probably laying on his face at this point because he got stabbed in the back. So maybe on the back of his head and kind of where the wound is.
Excellent.
Because I don't think he would have rolled over at this point because that super hurts.
So roll it up.
Oh, come on.
How'd you do?
I got a 4.
Care to spit?
Yeah, luck.
All right. You heal 2 harm, plus they are stabilized. So 2 harm healed to you. Salim?
You can feel like your flesh knitting back together, and it's weirdly cold.
Ooh.
So I think probably I like, Salim hisses like he just sort of actually like he touched something really hot, because like once you get to the extreme levels of hot and cold, it kind of, you get the same sort of instantaneous sensation. So he's just like, and then he sort of like looks over because he hadn't seen you approach because he was distracted by being stabbed.
Yeah, and like Neil, like some light is like pouring out of their eyes, and you can see like this almost after image of like the wings and the 1,000 eyes and like 4 different heads.
And he just sort of taking like quick shallow breaths, trying to process all of that and the fact that he doesn't have that gaping wound in his back anymore. He says, "Thank you." And he sort of glances over to where Melina is. I'm presuming Melina is just like staring, dumbfounded.
He's sort of gibbering and afraid, yeah. And Father Amhurst, seeing you, Anil, could see in his face this like play of emotions, this doubt, this maybe even regret that's kind of going through his face as he looks around. What have I done? And you, Mawar, behind you, the window you come through, you don't see the lawn, the street. Instead, you see this hellscape, fire, and tens of thousands transparent figures, their faces knotted in looks of pain, anguish, as they are coming closer to the open window. Their voices, "We come, we can enter, we will come. And from a window to the side, where the dragon of St. George is imprinted, the dragon steps out. This is mine! And that dragon made of stained glass, all planes, more like an origami sort of shape in the stained glass, roars towards the window as you see these damned souls kind of cringe back. And the dragon turns its head to you, Mawar. Mine. What do you do, Mawar?
A good question. I guess I'll look if I can get out of here. Right? Is the door still open?
Looking through the wrenched open doors, you see that fiery hellscape. You can see now figures transparent looking at the edge of the door like they're wanting to come in. You do notice that the window where the dragon has stepped out of has gone colorless and dull.
Right. I think I'll just go join my friends.
You rush over towards Salim and Anil. Anil, what are you doing? Actually, I think Salim, I haven't come to you here in a moment. You've just been healed. What are you doing?
I think he sort of is trying to scramble back to his feet. He's still a little bit hurt, like his back is like stiff, and his back and his coat are covered in like congealed blood. But he reaches back and he pulls out the knife. And he looks at Anil, and he says, "This might be more your department." And he offers the knife.
And like from my hand appears out of it this flaming longsword. The wicked are like the troubled seas when it cannot rest, and the water casts up mire and mud. You will be dealt with in God's time, and God's time has come. Join me, righteous man.
And he says, "Okay, but I think this. I don't know how much this is going to do against that dragon." But he looks over at, and I think he looks over at, and this is where I'm going to pull in my one hold.
Mm-hmm.
He looks over at Mawar and said, "You didn't take my shotgun off that motorcycle, did you?"
Of course, I have it right here.
Excellent.
And he's gonna pull back and he's gonna level the shotgun at the other windows.
Ooh, all right. So I'm going to have you roll as you shoot towards one of the windows. Is there one in particular, or are you just shooting the nearest one?
Since the dragon one has gone dull, Salim's just going to presume that one is active, and he's not going to be able to destroy that one because it had gone dull. But he's going to basically shoot for. Is there any other ones that kind of depict like obviously corrupted looking figures?
Now that you're looking at them, they all have this very sinister, twisted cast. Not only that red light, but like there is the Virgin Mary, but rather than that beatific look, you can see she has this savage smile and pointed teeth. You see the image of Paul on the road, but rather than the light coming down, you could see flames licking up the horse and shining on his face.
Okay, then I'm just going to go for the closest one and then just keep moving.
Excellent.
Hopefully Anil is distracting the giant glass dragon.
All right, this is going to be a roll to smash a window And I think it's going to be with tough, since that's what kick some ass is, even if you're using a gun.
Gotcha. Okay. Got a tough of 1. I rolled a 9 on the dice. That gives me a 10.
You fire. The window smashes, shattering back into the fiery landscape beyond that you see. As the window goes shattering back, the figures there, the tens of the masses, the legion of the dead that are crawling forward, recoil as though the shattered remnants are hurting them. They recoil back. Anil, what are you doing?
As like you start firing that gun, sort of like stepping in behind you to like in going toward the dragon. I want to kind of use my sword to try to cast out evil.
Okay. Certainly.
So like lifting it and like striking out at it.
Excellent. All righty. So rolling with tough.
That is an 11.
Ooh. What's it look like as this thing is shattered?
Yeah, I think the sword that I'm swinging at it is like on fire, but when it catches, it burns blue instead of the fire that we're seeing outside, and the lead starts melting.
Oh, perfect.
And we can hear the glass like cracking in the heat.
Excellent. And as the dragon itself sort of collapses into shattered glass and melted lead, behind it, the window explodes out again to the hellscape, and the figures recoil back. But there, from the wall, Mary steps forward, her glaring mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, and that window goes dull as she says, "You cannot stop me." And she is going to take a slash at you as she steps out. You're going to suffer. Well, I'm going to give you a chance to act under pressure because you rolled well, so there's not a hard move here. So you can act under pressure to avoid this, or is there something else you would like to do?
Me?
Yes.
Okay. No, none of my other moves. It's really just another cast out evil.
Okay.
Let's act under pressure instead.
All right. Act under pressure with cool as you're trying to collect yourself.
Nope. That's a 5. I have 1 more luck.
Do you use it now? Do you want to wait and see what the damage is? Because you could still use the luck to get rid of the damage.
Sure. And armor in this game, is it because I have divine armor by default?
And armor will work, provided it's not something that goes through armor. And I will say in this case, it is not.
It is holy armor.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. And so, like a serpent, Mary's head extends, and it's again that stained glass, and her mouth clamps to your shoulder and rips, those dagger sharp teeth ripping into your divine form. It would be 3, and whatever divine ichor looks like would come spraying out. Your armor would apply, so that would take it to a 2, unless you wish to use a luck to avoid all of the damage.
I'll take it. And the divine ichor is it's almost colorless.
Oh.
Like air coming out.
Okay. Marwar, you see you've smashed through one window and Peter has shattered. We've seen another window shattered. We've seen the dragon's window shattered. We see Mary stepping out. There are still some other windows in here. And there's Mary. What would you like to do?
Yeah, I think I'll keep shattering windows. I wanted to use my
Excellent. What are you using? What do you have?
telekinesis. I can move things with my mind.
Yes, you can. All right, let's roll a telekinesis for you, focusing your mind and shattering one of these windows.
Rolled a 5.
Would you like to use a
Plus
luck?
1 is 6. I think I'll let it go wrong.
All right. So on a miss, something goes horribly wrong. And so as you focus your mind towards one of these windows, you do smash it. It shatters. But you feel, and I don't know how busy everyone is. Maybe no one else sees this, but you are pulled to it, to the window. And as you reach the window, those many thousands of the masses of damned, their hands reach out. They touch you. They grab you. They begin whispering to you. We will be with you. We shall go into the world with you. And you can feel them coming inside of you. Minds and voices starting to come into you. I would like for you to take 2 harm, no armor for that, as at the moment, masses of these poltergeists are attempting to possess you. And we'll come back to you there, Salim. You have shotgunned one window, and for our purposes here, we have shattered altogether 4 windows. We have Mary out from one window. That means there's St. George up there that's dull, and there are 3 others that, including if we count the big circular Christ above the doorway, that are still all lit, colored. What are you doing?
Okay. Let's see. I think. Let's see. He's thinking. I think he is going to actually go for the Jesus window because that's
Okay.
that's probably the biggest
It is.
left, and he's worried that whatever comes out of there might be worse. So he goes for that one.
All right. So you're swinging your shotgun up towards this window, and you're going to fire. Let's roll with tough as you try to smash this window.
Ooh, that is a 5 total.
How much luck have you got left?
I got 2.
We are at the end.
I'm gonna blow one more. I'm gonna take a 10 plus on that one. And,
the shotgun explodes out, and as it does, the window smashes out, and you can see, because it's up above the door, looking out towards the sky of this place, it is black and roiling, and you could see bloody, fiery rain coming down. But it is such a complete dark cloud that it is as though there is a ceiling preventing anything from above ever coming here. But as the window shatters, Mary looks back. No. And you can begin to see on this angry Mary, there's some concern, like looking around at the number of windows that have been smashed has started making her a little concerned. And I'd like for you to roll me Chris, a defy danger, because she is going to, as she says no, those teeth, razor sharp teeth, shoot from her mouth towards you.
okay.
Can I protect someone?
You certainly can, actually, if you'd like to. Why don't we, if that's okay with you, Chris?
Sure.
why don't we have you roll protect someone, please?
And I think, as she like shoots these teeth out of her mouth, I guess. I am like, it's like the wings just flash, and it's like teleport, just a few feet.
Nice. All right. Roll with tough.
That is 8.
Okay.
So,
So you're going to protect them.
them.
But you need to. You're going to suffer some or all of the harm, and as you teleport in front of them, these glass shard teeth into you. It's going to be 3 harm.
And it goes down to 2 because of my armor.
It goes down to 2 because of your armor.
Cool.
And again, your divine essence flowing out from it, from these wounds. Salim, what are you doing? And maybe you see over there, Mawar is kind of being clutched at a window.
Oh, okay. I think he looks there and like he sees this sort of like these sort of spiritual hands just sort of grabbing her and sort of flowing over her.
Mm-hmm.
I think he screams no, and he runs over there and he pulls the blessed knife out of its sheath. Oh wait, he had it out before.
Mm-hmm.
So he runs over there. He raises the knife, and I think he stabs Mawar in the hand with it. So the holy power of the blade goes into them.
All right.
In an attempt to sort of drive away whatever is trying to get into her.
Okay. I think this is going to be, I'm going to have this as a protect someone with weird.
Okay. All right. My weird is 0, so this is a straight up roll. Let's see how this goes. That is a 4. So I'm going to spend my last luck.
Oh, I love when we become doomed.
Oh, he is totally doomed. Honestly, I thought he was doomed with that first defend move, but
all right, that gives you a 10, which means that you have protected. And in fact, Mawar, you feel the sharp pain in your hand, but these voices scream in unison from you when your mind is cleared as they are retreating. But what is your added effect you're going to take there, Salim?
All danger is now focused on me.
Excellent.
Like that the use of the holy dagger to cast out the evil, like every bad thing in this room is now like that one.
You could see almost like a flow of these spirits, these damned, kind of pulling out of Mawar, but as they go, they grab you, Salim, and they drag you through the window with them, wrenching your hand from the knife, which is still inside of Mawar's hand. And Mawar, you see Salim being pulled through the window, his legs, all that's still inside of the church, as he's being pulled into this hellscape. What do you do?
All right. Well, there's only 1 or 2 windows left.
There are only a few left, yeah.
So I think I'll focus on that for now. I have my flashlight, so I think I'll try to throw my flashlight into like the Jesus window.
Jesus window's out, but there's certainly others. You want to throw it at one of the others?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
This was.
You are you throwing it with your telekinesis, or are you just throwing it?
I think I'll just throw it.
All right. Roll with tough, please.
Maybe I should have used telekinesis.
You want to use telekinesis, or have you already rolled?
It wouldn't have helped.
Oh, okay. Do you have any luck left?
I do. I'll use my luck here.
All right. The flashlight whirling over and over hits the window, smashing it out as we see the image of the Last Supper, only it seems as though they're feasting on flesh and blood here in this window, smashing out. The figures behind withdraw. Mary screams in anger, and we're hitting 6:30. So I think we see smashing these windows is going to is the way that we stop this incursion. So I think I'm going to have us epilogue out of this, because I think we know it would just be dice rolling to finish off what's happening here. So I think, yes, ma'am.
I am extremely close to dying. Do you mind if I roll once more against Mary?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I don't mind. Go right ahead.
Cool. See, I think not cast out evil, but kick some ass. Like I'm actually using my sword the way that it's meant to be used.
Okay. Rolling with tough.
Excellent. That is a 9. So 7 plus you and whatever you're fighting inflict harm on each other.
Okay. Your damage is
3 holy.
as I think I'm going to give extra with that holiness, and that is, I believe, pretty sure to, yes. As your sword hits this image, it cuts through again, the lead sort of melting at its touch, the glass shattering back from it. It screams in anger, but as it shatters out, those glass shards that make it up explode into you. It's 3 again, 2 with your armor.
Yep, so that is 7 out of 7.
Do you have luck left?
Oh, I do. I don't want to use it though.
It's fine. All right. So as it collapses down, you fall. What do we see?
I think it's this kind of like dissipation almost. Like the blood is clear and like lighter than air almost. And so you just see it like dissipating into light.
Excellent. Excellent. We're going to go to epilogues, I think, from here. I feel like that Mawar blasting, throwing, doing various things would shatter all these windows. So I'm going to give a quick description, then we'll epilogue out. As the last window shatters, and actually, I think the last window, Father Amhurst has picked up the crucifix from the altar and flings it at the window himself, smashing it. As you could see, this grimace of like regret and guilt. And as it smashes into it, as he's run up, he's smashing into it, he catches his own wrist on the shattered glass. And we see that he bleeding out as he collapses onto this windowsill. And Mawar, you can see as the blood trickles down the windowsill, the light outside begin to change from that red, and you see the normal street beyond. So, I'd like an epilogue. I'm going to start on my left and work down. So, Mawar, what is the epilogue we see for you?
Good question. I don't think they ever like went to church, so that's not really in the cards. Anyway, I think it's just getting to know the town better. Maybe like joining the newspaper or something.
So you think you moved to St. George?
At least while we're here. I don't know how long we stay in places. But yeah, maybe like for the next month, just getting to know the people around here and helping them report on the strange goings on.
Okay, and so we see Mawar becoming part of the community immediately after this. Chris, what is the epilogue of Salim? We certainly left him in a precarious spot.
Yeah, I don't think he got back in. I think because of the situation that I think Mawar rightly chose to focus on destroying the remaining windows so that we could stop this incursion. I think he just disappeared out into the hellscape because he was already doomed at that point.
True.
So I think he disappeared, and I think the maybe the last thing that we got to see is I think at some point like Mawar had like taken that dagger out or it had fallen out and just sort of clattered toward the windowsill. And I think as the last thing we saw of Salim was like his hand reach up and grab the dagger and then fall back out, fall outwards again.
As the scene shifts from the hellscape back to normal. Maybe even Mawar, that's why you're staying, seeing if you could find your uncle. And now, Anil, our divine angel who has passed beyond, what do we see as an epilogue?
I think we get back to the normal world, and then it shifts again to that hellscape with like all the writhing bodies, and we see like Salim's hand like reaching up out of it, and then like another hand reaches out and grabs it, and it's just like made of light, and it like pulls you up and out.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's lovely. And I will take I'll take DM privilege, keeper privilege for my last epilogue. As Mawar, you're here in this town. We see that demonic face watching you from windows. We see this sort of montage of you doing things and that demonic face watching you. And our last image is of you just there in the town, and the camera flows back towards the church. And at the back of the church, away from the sanctuary, we see that there is a stained glass window. And we see the image of that demon's face begin to form into the stained glass. Its hand reaching across this fiery chasm towards a glowing, bright figure and a struggling warrior beside them. And I think that's where we're going to end. Hope y'all enjoyed that. I know we went a bit late. That was A Church with a View by Kane Cathane out of the Tome of Mysteries. I think it's a pretty creepy adventure. We are super late, so I won't do any sort of roses and thorns, but I would love maybe if people have just a second to maybe say a word or two of what they thought and if they enjoyed it, and say maybe something, you saw really cool out of your fellow players. So I'm going to start on the other end this time. Sarah, anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
I'm glad that I chose the divine for this one in particular, and the ending was real good, guys.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Chris, anything you'd like to say as we wrap up?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I liked the character interplay we had. I really liked trying to work around that admonition not to lie during that whole last series of interactions. Like, well, what are you having to shift everything to questions? I thought that was actually a really cool use of the manipulate someone on another player. It's the first time I've encountered that before, and I really like the result.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Yeah.
really cool, and I really liked the. And I will say that Asher, you completely surprised me with the telekinesis. I had completely forgotten about it, and then it's like, oh well, I just used my telekinesis to shout out the windows. I was like, what?
That was cool. Excellent. Thank you very much. Asher, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I guess similarly, I really like the divine dagger that you got, and how you used it to get the spirits out of my body just by piercing my hand. I also really like the beginning of this, how it all started as an insurance scam and built up this wild battle. So
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I will say, y'all are phenomenal people. I love playing with you all. It's always a pleasure when I get to. I'm lucky enough that I do get to play with y'all fairly often, and so that makes me super happy. I thought, Sarah, your divine was spectacular. You played it really well. It wasn't over the top. It was a beautifully subtle way of doing it, and the way you decided to go out, that final image, spectacular. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Chris, wonderful play off of Salim. A really nice, fully fleshed character, a decent person. I think we saw so much of the humanity in the person it was in that short amount of time. You did such a good job role-playing it. Excellent, first rate. And Asher, that was way amazing. I loved so many things. I loved the crashing through the window. I loved the way you interacted. I liked how you went with the things I was doing with the demon. I thought that was so cool. Spectacular role play. Excellent. I cannot say enough how wonderful it was. All of you, thank you so much for playing. I'll say I like this little scenario too. I thought it was creepy. I liked the pressure of it. It really it seemed it built into something really pretty terrifying, I thought. So thank you, Keith Catane. Folks, that has been our game. And Asher, since you are our director of video, I'll say good night to whoever happens to be watching, and hopefully you will watch more. And Asher, if you'll close out our